You're going to want to hear this. Miami offensive coordinator Shannon Dawson has explained why the O has been inconsistent.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I am Alex Donno, University of Miami alumnus, co-host of Locked On ACC and host of Post Game on the Hurricanes Radio Network. And thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. And today's episode is proudly brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download FanDuel today. We'll talk about the keys against an excellent NC State offense. The defense, not so much, but Miami needs to find that offensive consistency that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Miami's freshman weapons, including something we learned yesterday afternoon about Girard Pringle that I didn't know when we talked about him yesterday morning. It's pretty darn impressive. And let's bring in today's Tuesday, right?
Yep.
Truth Teller Tuesday with Bruce Warner. So Bruce, something that Shannon Dawson said yesterday, and I completely agree with him. In fact, this is something I've been saying for weeks here on Locked On Canes. But you tell me, is what he said about Miami's offensive consistency, is this actually the cause or is this a symptom of it? He said, we have to play loose. Have to play fun. We were a little too uptight at times, and that restricts the offense. With offense, you need to be even-keeled, calm, and execute. And he talked about you can't be thinking about the results of the play. You need to be thinking about executing. And, Bruce, we have been saying for weeks that when this offense has struggled, they've looked very uptight.
I don't buy his nonsense. I haven't bought his nonsense all year, and I'm not going to buy it now. I made comments the last couple of weeks about using your brain and thinking about creating plays. And I know I said last week.
He did do last week.
What?
He did do that last week.
Well, I don't know if he watches the show, and I don't even care if he listens to me or even heard me. And I also said we need to use Malachi Toney as a decoy. What exactly happened on that touchdown? They handed the ball off to him on that, flanker around. And the whole damn team and half the people in the stands rooting for Syracuse were chasing after him. And he throws it back to back, and he goes into the end zone untouched, which is exactly what I said. Now, do I have fun, be loose? I think the coaching staff is uptight, and I think that's why the players are uptight, not because the coaching staff is so relaxed and so innovative that they're uptight. No, look, you do plays like that. You have fun. You score touchdowns. You have fun. That's what they did last week. Now, yes. I remember also saying, are they going to beat Syracuse because they're just better than them, or are they going to beat them and be more innovative and really put it to them? And I think it was a combination. Both. It was a combination of both. Yes, they made some changes in the offense. It was fine. They really beat them, but the problem remains. Louisville, bad start. Mm-hmm. Stanford, horrible start. Right?
Yeah.
SMU on the road, crappy start. And last week, crappy start. That's 4 bad starts in a row coming out of the locker room. So if you're going to correct something, Shannon, correct that. We need to score and score early against NC State because they can put points on the board. Yeah. And you don't want to fall behind again because once you fall behind, everybody gets tight. It's human nature. And you have problems and you struggle. There's been a lot of drop balls, right? He's been sacked a lot lately. But I still think that they're better than NC State, but they've got to come out of the gate fast. They can't keep doing it. They're digging holes.
Well, and on that note, so it's like it again, and like to me, like what Shannon said was completely right. Like the offense has absolutely looked uptight, and he also talked about same thing I said the last couple days on Locked On Canes, that the play that sparked them was the Dalen Upshaw 41-yard catch and run on the screen. That all of it, everything clicked after that. Okay. Right. So then the question would be,
and part of it, I mean, they're a part of it is because it wasn't Malachi Toney. Now you got to worry about this guy catching the ball or somebody else catching the ball. That's what I said. He could be a decoy. He was probably double covered the entire game. So what? But they still won because you don't have to force the throws to him. Use other people. Now we got CJ Daniels is coming back Saturday, we believe. So that'll be another help. And Josh Moore played pretty well. Use the people you have.
Well, and that to me exactly is like you need to figure out how to get yourselves going earlier in games. And I'm not even going to put the slow start this past weekend. I'm going to take some of that heat off of Shannon Dawson, because if JoJo Trader had caught that first down that he dropped, I think that could have been the explosive play that would have sparked them in the first quarter, right? So execution,
but that was for a first down. He wasn't going to go anyplace. That ball was thrown near the sideline.
Yeah, it would have been an explosive first down, though. And so, all right, and I like the fact that, and listen, we've been critical of Dawson with some of these play calls throughout the weeks, but I thought this past Saturday, for the most part, I thought he nailed it. Like, I thought this was the best game he called. And so, Bruce, now that we're seeing other weapons stretching the field, other players getting involved, and even when they are bracketing Malachi Toney, which Syracuse did, you're finding other ways for Malachi to affect the game. You're using him on jet sweeps and end arounds. He's throwing passes now. A couple games in a row, he's thrown passes. So we're seeing the full arsenal of Malachi Toney, but then you've got other receivers who are stepping up. So we need
other weapons like Pringle, who ran for a touchdown, right? So everybody's on the receivers, and he's good.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is we got to press the creative buttons now earlier in games, because if you want the demeanor to be better, if you want the team to be less uptight, once you hit that first explosive play, that seems to be what loosens everybody up. So we can't let that happen after 4 punts this week.
No, I mean, I don't know why they did that in the first 4 possessions. They didn't look too good at all. And their first down yardage is not doing that well. They got to get second and short, third and short, so they can be more creative. You can't be that creative on 2nd and 9. They know you're probably going to throw the ball. And these teams are tough. And if they're still stacking the box and they're rushing him, it gives Beck less time to check down and find other people, which is causing some of these sacks. So they really need – look, I keep saying swing passes, and as long as they keep doing that, they'll be fine. I like to see Pringle get in the passing game because he could certainly run. He's tough. I like that kid.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And something that we learned about Girard Pringle from hearing Mario Cristobal, his afternoon presser yesterday, maybe the first player ever at Miami to do this, certainly the first player, during the Mario Cristobal era, to be the scout team player of the week and be one of the MVPs of your game in the same week. Cristobal said nobody else has ever done that. So, like, you talk about the next man up mentality, Bruce, and it was the same thing for Dalen Upshaw, who has a big play in the game. So these guys are playing a lot of mostly scout team in practice, but they're having to run back and forth and play reps with a different unit, 4 plays with the scout team, 4 plays with the first or second team offense. They're going back and forth. And so Girard Pringle is doing that, and he comes out and he was the best running back on the field for Miami this past weekend. And he does it in the same week where he is the scout team player of the week. That, to me, when you're talking about recruiting pitches, when you're talking about anybody who says, oh, Mario Cristobal doesn't use his freshman enough, yada, yada, you see, obviously, Malachi Toney's a true freshman. He's making explosive plays all season. Dalen Upshaw gets his opportunity, makes the most of it. Josh Moore has made plays at times. And then Girard Pringle, who's been a revelation these last couple of games, that right there says the best players, whether you're on the scout team or whether you're a true freshman, when you're needed and you have your opportunity to step up, you're going to get the chance to make the most of that at Miami.
Yeah, and Bryce is doing well in the secondary. He's got 3 picks.
Yeah.
So, that's another a true freshman who's doing some damage. I just want to say congratulations to the Locked On company for having been, I guess there's voted or whatever, as the best podcasts. And I think you are probably the best host of all these podcasts. Not that I've seen any of them, but
you've seen one of them, and I'm the best that you've seen. So thank you.
No, I've seen some other ones, but I just think you do such an incredible job. And then
thank you.
I'm assuming that the Tuesday show is really highly ranked
through the roof. The best one, the Truth Teller Tuesday. People love it.
Best guests. Oh, by the way, happy birthday, Donnie Solinger. That was yesterday. He's 81.
Oh, and you would never know. Donnie takes care of himself. Yeah,
he looks great. All right, so what else is going on? I know that Mario was talking about. He made comments about using Malachi as a decoy. because he noticed the same thing that I noticed, and that's smart.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean when I say if Dawson would change some of the things he does and take advantage of things, he's got something there now that no matter when he does this, if you watch Malachi in motion, you see people shifting around.
Mm-hmm.
So all good. But again, this is a real big game. Can't slip up anymore. Seems to me, I think it's more likely we can get into the playoffs than we can to the ACC title game.
Yes, much
only
more
a couple of things have to happen, and we're right there. Right?
Yeah, to get into the ACC championship game, you need like 50 things to happen. To get into the college football playoff, you need a few things to happen. And we're going to talk about that later on, but I want to talk a little bit more about these young playmakers and what Miami's going to have to do against NC State. You want to keep it right here. We got the Truth Teller with us on a Truth Teller Tuesday, and we're only getting started on this brand new Locked On Canes. Guys, college football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy, there's just nothing like it. Let's be real, though. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It is the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. Guys, the prices go down the closer you get to Game Time on the Game Time app, and what you see is what you pay, folks. It's so important. They don't slap on the fees at the end where, you think you're getting a $30 ticket, and it's like $58 a check. None of that nonsense with Game Time. Guys, I love how you can get a panoramic view in the app from your seat before you buy. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege. If you use our code, you get $20 off your first purchase. It works. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go! Download the Game Time app today. Thank you for making Locked On Canes your first listen. For your next listen, make sure to check out Locked On ACC. Kenton Gibbs and I take you around the conference, all the big games, all the big storylines, all the CFP and ACC Championship talk. Like this show, it's available free wherever you get your podcasts and available free on YouTube. So, Truth Teller, as you mentioned, we're not expecting to have Mark Fletcher back this weekend.
Right.
So, running back, like the rotation, the players available, it's going to be what it was this past week. Marty Brown, Jordan Lyle, Girard Pringle, and Chris Wheatley-Humphrey may get in some work as well. Now, something notable, for as much of a revelation as Girard Pringle was last week, and he had some good plays against Stanford as well, scored a touchdown, true freshman running back Pringle does not have a first half carry yet this season. Do you believe how he performed in the second half against Syracuse has earned him some work a little bit earlier on? Do you think we're going to see Pringle get some work in the first half this week?
I think we will. I think we're going to see Brown as always, and I think we're going to see Lyle again, but I don't know what's going on with him. Look, to me, he looks sluggish. Maybe he gained too much weight, too much muscle. I don't know. I don't have the answer, but he doesn't seem to have that escapability and that ability to jump cut and get to the outside and blow by people. So I think he's going to get in there second, but I think Pringle's going to get in there in the first half. I agree with you. I agree. And if he, and if he does well, he may jump Lyle because he doesn't get stopped in the backfield. He's quick. He's low to the ground. He's got the acceleration. He's got good stop and go moves. It doesn't look like he's a burner, but he can move. And he hits those holes with no hesitation. He's there. So
he's the most
I like
decisive.
Him.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you bring up with Lyle, I've wondered all the same stuff with him, in terms of physically. I think it was Dawson. It was either Dawson or Mario who said this on Monday that I think at least part of like his struggle could be mental in that since he hasn't really made an impact on the season yet, like he's trying to basically go for all of it every time he touches the ball. Mm-hmm. And that, part of that might be a mental hurdle that he hasn't cleared yet since coming back from injury. And like whatever it is, like we all know how good Jordan Lyle can be. Like we all saw him break out as a true freshman last year. And I want the dude to get back to that. How much of that? I mean, did he gain too much weight? He did get heavier. He was over 200 pounds when the season started. Are the physical injuries that he had early in the year, is any of that still affecting him, or is it just the mental stuff? whatever it is, I need him to work through that and start
Yeah.
becoming the running back that he was last year.
Well, he'll get some chances this week, obviously, because you got in the other day. But if he doesn't produce, they're going to go right to Pringle, which is a good thing to have. You know,
great problem to have.
Am I worried whether Pringle plays in the first half or not? Of course not. I don't care. I want him to win, and I want them all to play well. Let's see what happens. But I think both him and Lyle need to get involved in the passing game on the perimeter, you know, on the flat, whatever. Wheel routes, I think they need to be involved with that. And we'll see what happens. But right now, I'm more concerned about us coming out of the gate prepared to play on both sides of the ball, because I'm tired of this first half nonsense where they're struggling. Yeah, they blow teams out in the second half, or they have.
Yeah.
But, you know, like the Florida State game, they were incredible the first 3 quarters.
Yeah.
And then since then, things have been very inconsistent. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I kind of want to talk about these flips that they just got and more potential flips. You know more about the recruiting, but I know they're looking at the Nagel kid from Pitt. They're looking at the kid, what's it, Chunwuka or something like that.
Isaac Shakura, who's committed to Penn State, and also safety Blake Stewart, who up until a couple weeks ago was committed to Clemson. Miami is the trending favorite to land Blake Stewart, and
that's big. I really want that kid. We need a real blue chip. Can you imagine him and Fitzgerald next year? Wow.
You're right, and him and Fitzgerald, but also JJ Dunnigan, who Miami just landed, the two of them together, because like I know what Miami's staff really wants, and this JJ Dunnigan that they landed a couple days ago, this is the 4-star safety. He's a hitter, Bruce. I mean, he's already 6'3", 200 pounds. This dude plays violently, and I think the staff really wants to be able to pair Dunnigan, you know, when we're talking future beyond the road 2026 and beyond, to be able to pair Dunnigan and Blake Stewart, who they hopefully land, that could be like one of the next dynamic safety combos. But you're right to bring up Bryce Fitzgerald, who's a true freshman right now. And you made a great point to me. We were talking on the phone earlier today, because when I'm thinking about defensive end recruiting, right, Miami just landed.
That's what you mentioned on your show yesterday. I was trying to talk to you through the screen, even though it was already recorded. Come on. And I told you this morning, who are the names you threw out? And then I'll tell everybody who I said you got to look out for.
Okay. Well, all right. So Miami just landed
Lafayette.
They just landed Anthony Lafayette. You know, they landed earlier in this cycle Ashari Charles, who's top edge rusher from Venice. And like my statement was, they want to pair these guys together to make them the next Bain and Mesidor. But and then tell me what you told me, which you're not wrong.
I got you on the phone and I said, what the hell happened to Hayden Lowe? That kid's going to start next year, regardless of those other two guys. There's no question Hayden Lowe is going to play. He's already a monster. So I mean, so they may want to. You may want them to compare them. I want to put Lowe in there and let the other guys battle it out, because they do need it, and they also, you know, they still have the guys they have now.
Yeah, right. Marquise Lightfoot is having a good season.
He's just got to get a little bigger. That's all.
You know, Akeem Mesidor, who can play inside and outside, is having a good, or not Akeem Mesidor, Armando Blunt, who can play inside and outside, is having a good season so far. And for those who like don't remember Hayden Lowe, like in fall camp, like Lowe was trending to get a lot of playing time this year at defensive end, but he suffered the season-ending injury before the season started. So it's medical redshirt year for him. He's going to be back next year, and you can expect him to be a menace. And Miami's going to need it because, you know, Bain and Mesidor are having incredible years, and you're losing both of these guys to the NFL this year. Bain's definitely going to be a first-round pick, and I think Mesidor is trending towards the first round as well. I hope they both go in the first round. But, yeah, you're going to be replacing a lot of production at that position, but there's no question Miami has the talent to replace those guys next year.
You know, I was thinking about this morning, about Bain and Mesidor. And I think the defensive player of the year, to me, is Scott.
Yes. We're on the same page.
Is incredible. To me, he's the best defensive player we have this year in terms of the numbers and the production. Not in names and not, you know, the draft status, but he should be a high draft pick at safety. This kid is all over the place. He's everywhere.
Yeah, he's all I think
he batted down a few balls. He rushes the quarterback. He makes plays in the gaps. He's all over the field. I think he's just special.
He's a semifinalist for the Thorpe Award, which is the most prestigious defensive back award, and he's earning that on the field. Keonte Scott, to me, yeah, he's probably been, I would say he's been Miami's most consistently best defensive player this year. And that's no disrespect to Bain and Mesidor.
Right,
but I think Keonte Scott is having a truly special year. And, not quite as consistent, but I've loved some of the stuff Jacoby Thomas has done this year as well. He had, in that Syracuse game, he had like a triple threat. He had an interception and a sack and a fumble recovery. He did everything on that field.
Triple-double. All right, so on the offense, it's a no-brainer. It's Malachi. And that's the end of the discussion. It's Malachi.
Yeah, offensive MVP.
Nothing to discuss.
Well, right. It's either him or like CeCe Maui Noah. But,
No, you got to go with this kid. The kid just turned 18 in the season. Yeah. So, we're 3/4 of the way through this. We couldn't wait for the season to start. We're almost done. It's sad.
Yeah, it's sad.
It's sad. All right, so, look, NC State's coming up. Their quarterback's pretty darn good. They have some weapons. Their defense is not so good, which is another reason why we should be able to come out early in this game and score and put the pressure on NC State. They beat the daylights out of Georgia Tech a week ago or a week before last. Beat the daylights out of them.
And all respect to NC State, they played like men possessed, and that was their homecoming. Georgia Tech, to me, they thought that was going to be a cakewalk. I don't think they took them seriously enough, which Miami cannot afford to do that. So let me give you some of the.
Didn't NC State beat somebody earlier in the year, and it doesn't count?
Virginia. They beat Virginia
35-31. What is that all about?
It was a non-conference game between
two
ACC
won. That would have
teams.
helped Miami. Another loss to Virginia.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So and you look at some of the things. NC State's offense can be scary for opponents, Bruce. They scored 48 points against against Georgia Tech. 48 points in the win against Georgia Tech, which is significant. Now, they lost a game to Pitt where they gave up 53 points. So that goes to show you the defense can be a liability. They scored 34 points in that game, even in defeat, which is pretty good output from their offense. Notre Dame held them in check. Notre Dame beat them 36-7.
But that was up in where they played away. They were at Notre Dame.
They played them in South Bend. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and listen, NC State's worst loss, and it was a bad loss, was against Virginia Tech that had just fired their head coach, and that was at home. They lost to them 23-21. Their offense nor their defense showed up for that game, and they gave up 45 points in a loss to Duke, 45-33. So their defense has been shaky this year. Now, it used to be, and it's funny, like Mario brought this up in his press conference the other day, that like the last time Miami played NC State, Miami didn't score a touchdown against. That was 2023. That was a much different NC State defense. They had stud linebackers and defensive linemen in those days. Their defense personnel-wise is not very good, despite, Dave Doran, their head coach, being like a good defensive coach over the years. They've had a lot of good defenses, but their offense is better than it was in those days right now, Bruce. Hollywood Smothers, one of the best running backs in the ACC. Justin Jolie, one of the best tight ends in the country. And CJ Bailey is balling. Like, he's having a great year. Their South Floridian quarterback who, I guess Miami didn't recruit him early enough to get him down here.
They didn't. Yes. That was the connection with him and JoJo and the kid at Ohio State.
Yeah, you know what? If we had gotten CJ, we might have Jeremiah here as well.
Right. We may or may not have. It depends,
Yeah.
Anyway, so look, it's a big game. They're all big now. We can't afford to lose. As you said, we need a few dominoes to fall. But if we win these next 3 games and we don't get to the ACC title game, which we're probably not, and we don't make the playoffs for whatever the reason, they could still win a bowl game and have 11 wins. When was the last time that happened? Which I'm not going to say I'd be thrilled with 11-2.
Right. Yeah.
We shouldn't have been 11-2. We should not have lost 2 of these games already.
Nope.
But especially with all the talent we have, we're just giving the damn games away. But that wouldn't be so bad. But we need to win the bowl game because 11-2 with a bowl win is pretty good. And it keeps the momentum going on the recruiting because, as you mentioned, they already got a few guys in the last few days, and there's more to come. But they cannot lose what they have. And if there's guys that are on the cusp, the guys you mentioned, We need to be able to tell these guys, look, we're on the upswing. We had a blip here, and we're ready to go. So that's what I want to see. I want to finish strong. Don't want to. So what are we now? 1-0 in November, or 1-1? 1-1 in November.
Yeah.
Okay.
When we come back, I'll tell you the last time Miami had consecutive double-digit win seasons, and we'll talk a little bit more about NC State, plus a special tribute to our veterans today on Veterans Day. You want to keep it locked right here, my friends. We're not done yet on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. Folks, the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on that action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. Keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. You know, I have so much appreciation and just I'm in awe of the bravery of our men and women who have served on this Veterans Day. And, you know, my grandfather served in World War II, like thankfully, you know, for him and for me, because I don't know if I would be here if he had been. He was never actually deployed in World War II, but he served our country. I've got a cousin who served our country and did some tours in the Middle East, you know, in more recent years. But Bruce, you were telling me about your father and that remarkable the service that he made. See him there.
That's my
Papa
father.
Warner.
June 6, 1944. He was 17 years old. He was 16 when he enlisted. He was in the 101st Airborne. He jumped on D-Day, June 6, 1944, over one of the beaches of Normandy, France. And they survived on Spam, chocolate bars, and water for months until they finally got through to Germany.
Wow.
He told me stories about how he could hear the bullets whizzing by as he was jumping out of the plane. And they landed, and a lot of the members of his plane and other planes were all killed on the way down. Oh. They had to regroup to make it all the way from France into Germany. What a story. And there's a documentary called The Band of Brothers, a 10-part series. My father was in the Band of Brothers, and he's been honored by consulates and by the Marlins and whoever. Wow. But all veterans now who are here and listening to this, thank you for everything you've done, because I know in my heart of hearts, if they didn't win that particular war, if they didn't take care of Hitler, even though he killed himself, I don't know where we'd be today. That was an incredible day in the history of the U.S. military, June 6th, 1944. Yes, my dad was there.
Unbelievable. Thank you for sharing that, and God rest your father's soul, and God bless all of the veterans as we celebrate you on this Veterans Day. That's unbelievable. Man, going back, I hope we win a football game on Saturday. It's hard to segue from something that matters that much into something that in the grand scheme of things doesn't. But you mentioned Bruce. So we're going to find out tonight, by the way, 7 o'clock tonight, the round 2 of college football playoff rankings are going to come out. So, all right. So Miami in the AP poll moved up from number 18 to number 16. Right. They move in front of, or I should say, the teams that dropped behind them, Virginia, who lost over the weekend, and Louisville, who lost over the weekend. I'm wondering if the CFP committee is going to do it the same way, because I guess my big question is the CFP committee is disregarding Miami's head-to-head win against Notre Dame, because in their eyes, they're separated by too many spots for them to take the head-to-head to account. So will the CFP committee
at this point,
that's true. But will the CFP committee keep Louisville ranked in front of Miami because of the head-to-head win that Louisville has over Miami? So are they going to count Miami's head-to-head against Louisville against them and not count the head-to-head against Notre Dame for them? That's
would it surprise me if they kept both teams ahead of us? Of course not, because they hate us. So it is what it is. Nothing surprises me when it comes to this nonsense. Just like the ACC, this thing's the same way. They all want Notre Dame in there. They're a big draw. They're a money draw. They're a TV draw. So, unless Notre Dame loses again, I don't think they'd have any more excuses to keep them ahead of us because we did beat them.
So let me ask you this, because I've heard some people try to say that like Miami should root for Notre Dame to win out and then hope that at the end of it, they value the head-to-head win for Miami at the end. I still think I would prefer Pittsburgh to beat Notre Dame and then Miami to beat Pittsburgh. I think
agree.
that would be a better path to get us in, because that would theoretically definitely drop Notre Dame behind us, and then Miami would then beat a team that beat Notre Dame while also having beat Notre Dame. So I think that would be
I wouldn't say that if the Notre Dame loses and they have 3 losses and we have 2 and we beat them, I wouldn't still say that they're going to not pick Notre Dame because they don't like us. So I don't ever say definitely. If Notre Dame loses and we win the next 3 games and the other dominoes fall, we need more dominoes to fall than just Notre Dame losing.
Yeah, we need like teams like Texas and Oklahoma. You would like them to lose as
Texas
well. We're going
to
to need
lose
other
this
help.
week. I think Texas is going to lose this week. I do. And then Clemson plays who? I think it might be Louisville.
Yes, Louisville on Friday night. You're 100%
okay. So
correct.
If they could win that, even though they're the road,
we root for Clemson. Yeah,
root for Clemson. That's right.
Yeah.
And that would knock them down. Now, where's Georgia Tech?
Where are they ranked?
Yeah, they weren't ranked that high, even though they had no losses.
I think they're 15th now.
They're one ahead of it.
They're ranked 17th by the AP. I don't know where the committee's.
So they could be behind us in this. So maybe it won't be. Yeah. Maybe we will make it. We have a better shot at the playoffs than we do the ACC title game as it sits today.
I mentioned I'd like to see Pittsburgh beat Notre Dame, but did you see what Pittsburgh's coach Pat Narduzzi said this week?
Yeah.
I lost all respect for him. Whatever respect I had for Pat Narduzzi, I flush it down the toilet. So a reporter asked Narduzzi about this Notre Dame game. They asked, which is kind of a stupid question, but a really stupid answer. The reporter asked him if you view this game against Notre Dame as a must-win game, right? Now, hearing a lot of football coaches talk over the years, I would expect a football coach to answer that question with something like, hey, we approach every game with the urgency of a must-win, and we're going to perform at our best, something like that, right? Narduzzi said, no, it's absolutely not, because it's not a conference game. And then he went out and said, if they beat, this is his words, if they beat us 110 to 3, if they beat us 110 to 3, it doesn't matter. We just need to win the next 2 games after that in the ACC. Like, you really put that into the universe, Narduzzi? Like, oh, it doesn't matter if they beat us 110 to 3. I thought that was an asinine comment.
I thought his name was Nardufus, but maybe I was wrong. It is not. Stupid idiot. Yeah, these coaches are so stupid.
What a comment.
What is an idiot. Look, I don't really like Pitt anyhow. I don't really care for any of these teams, to tell you the truth. Speaking of not liking, I keep hearing rumors about Florida State getting rid of their coach, and I think he's in real trouble now. I don't know why they would even consider keeping him at this point. They're not going anywhere. Yeah, if they win 2 games, they're a bowl game.
The only reason you would consider keeping him is because you owe him $54 million.
I don't think anybody should even care about it. Look how much money you're going to lose if you keep him.
Right. Yeah.
And then you keep losing, and people don't go to the games. They don't spend money on it. The merchandise, the parking, the whole 9 yards. It's all going to wind up a wash. Yeah. Get rid of him. He's not going to be your coach of the future. And you certainly aren't winning any titles with him. You didn't win any now. He said, we've won a lot of titles so far since I've been here. What titles? They won 1 ACC title. That's not titles. That's 1.
Well, they made themselves rings after a 13-1 season. 13-1, they made rings that said unconquered. So there's
right.
that.
Those are the same dummies back in 1989 did that off-season video that they were so great, and then Miami beat them 31-0.
Yeah.
Number 1 team in the nation, 31-0. And Miami had just won the title, and these guys were coming in with the videos. Come on. Yeah. I mean, that's why they disrespected. Miami always felt disrespected.
Yeah.
Except we had a lot of talent back then. But now these guys, I don't know how they feel. I don't know how they feel coming off a loss. They should be angry.
They should.
All right. Anyway, let's see what happens on Saturday. Congratulations on the Locked On as the best in the podcasts. You're one of the best, if not the best, in my opinion. And I'm not going to say anything more about this show because we know damn well why Truth Teller Tuesday's a good show.
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, the truth
I'm going to get panned for making that comment.
Truth Teller Tuesday is the primary reason the network is number one, and I stand by that. And I appreciate everything that Bruce does. I appreciate all of you. Make sure to smash the like button, subscribe, Locked On Canes, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, wherever you get your pods. And we'll talk to you next time on another episode of Locked On Canes, part of the number one sports podcast network, Locked On, your team every day.